The metallic corridors of the neutral space station hummed with the conversations of a dozen different species, their voices creating a symphony of diplomatic tension and barely concealed disdain. Captain Arya Vale stood at the observation deck, watching the massive formations of warships from across the Galactic Alliance conduct their elaborate dance of military prowess. Sleek, Vexian destroyers cut through space like silver daggers, their engines leaving trails of blue plasma that painted the void in streaks of deadly beauty. The crystalline vessels of the Arcturus Collective moved with mathematical precision, their faceted hulls reflecting starlight in patterns that seemed almost hypnotic. Even the bioorganic ships of the Zephyrian Hive pulsed with an alien grace that commanded respect. And then there was the crawler. Earth's contribution to this grand display of galactic military might sat in the formation like a stubborn asteroid among shooting stars. Where other ships boasted elegant curves and intimidating weapon arrays, the crawler was a study in utilitarian brutality. Its hull was thick-scarred from countless encounters and painted in the dull gray that had become synonymous with human pragmatism. Most damning of all, it was slow. Painfully, embarrassingly slow. Captain Vale. The voice belonged to General Thane Morrison, Earth's military attaché to the Alliance. His weathered face bore the expression of a man who had grown tired of making excuses. The joint exercises begin in 6 hours. I trust your ship is prepared. Arya turned from the viewport, her dark eyes meeting Morrison's with steady determination. At 35, she had already earned a reputation as one of Earth's most capable commanders, but that reputation meant little when her ship couldn't keep pace with a cargo hauler. The crawler is ready, General. We always are. Morrison's expression softened slightly. He had served with Arya's father during the invasion wars 50 years ago, when humanity had first proven its worth to the galaxy through sheer bloody-minded determination. Arya, I know this assignment isn't what you wanted. Hell, it isn't what any of us wanted. But the Alliance insisted on including Earth in these exercises, and the crawler is what we have available. She's a good ship, sir. Arya's voice carried no defensiveness, only quiet conviction. Her crew knows their business. I'm sure they do. Morrison glanced toward the viewport where the crawler hung in space, like a gray reproach to human engineering. Just try to stay out of the way during the speed trials. General Zelar has already made his feelings about our participation quite clear. As if summoned by the mention of his name, General Zelar's imposing figure appeared at the far end of the observation deck. The Vexian commander stood nearly 7 feet tall, his elongated limbs and angular features giving him an almost predatory appearance. His skin had the metallic sheen common to his species, and his eyes glowed with a soft amber light that seemed to evaluate everything around him with cold precision. Zelar approached with the fluid grace that characterized all Vexian movements, his ceremonial armor catching the light from the nearby stars. When he spoke, his voice carried the musical quality of his native tongue, though his words were rendered in perfect standard galactic. General Morrison, Captain Vale, I trust Earth's contribution will not impede the exercises. Arya stepped forward, her posture straight and military despite the clear insult. The crawler will perform her duties as assigned, General Zelar. The Vexian's amber eyes fixed on her with what might have been amusement. Duties. Yes, I have reviewed the mission parameters. Your vessel has been assigned to reconnaissance and support roles. Very appropriate. His gaze shifted to the viewport, where the human warship sat motionless. I confess I find it curious that Earth continues to field such antiquated vessels. Surely your shipyards can produce something more contemporary. The crawler serves her purpose, Arya replied evenly. Indeed. And what purpose would that be exactly, in an era where battles are won by speed and precision? What role can such a deliberate vessel possibly play? Morrison cleared his throat, clearly uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. General Zeeler, perhaps we should focus on the upcoming exercises, rather than debate ship design philosophy. Zeelar's attention remained fixed on Arya, waiting for her response. She met his gaze without flinching. In my experience, General, the Galaxy has a way of surprising those who think they understand everything about warfare. How philosophical. Zeelar's tone suggested he found the conversation mildly entertaining. Well, Captain Vale, I look forward to seeing what surprises your vessel might offer. Though I suspect the most surprising thing would be if it managed to complete the course without requiring assistance. With that parting shot, the Vexian general glided away, leaving Arya and Morrison alone at the viewport. The silence stretched between them until Morrison finally spoke. He's an arrogant bastard, but he's not wrong about the speed differential. The crawler is going to be left behind in the first 5 minutes of those trials. Arya's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. We'll see, General. We'll see. 6 hours later, the bridge of the crawler hummed with quiet activity as the crew prepared for the joint exercises. The bridge itself reflected the ship's utilitarian nature, functional displays, worn but well-maintained equipment, and not a single unnecessary decoration. It was a workspace designed by engineers for engineers, built to withstand whatever the universe might throw at it. Engineer Jelani Okafor sat at the navigation station, his fingers dancing across the control interface with practiced ease. At 28, he was the youngest member of the senior staff, but his skill at coaxing maximum performance from the crawler's systems had earned him universal respect among the crew. Navigation ready, Captain. Course laid in for the speed trial starting point. Chief Engineer Marcus Rydell looked up from his station, where streams of technical data painted his weathered face in shifting patterns of blue and green light. At 52, Rydell had served on more ships than he could easily count, but the crawler had become his passion project. Every system on the ship bore his personal touch, optimized and refined through years of dedicated work. All systems nominal, Captain. Though I still say this whole exercise is a waste of time. These Alliance types wouldn't know real engineering if it bit them on their perfectly sculpted posteriors. Dr. Elena Voss, the ship's chief science officer, smiled slightly at Rydell's assessment. Her specialty was artificial intelligence and computational systems fields that had made her something of an outsider in the human fleet. Most commanders preferred their battles fought with conventional weapons and tactics. The exercises served their purpose, Marcus. They maintain the facade of cooperation that keeps Earth's membership in the Alliance secure. Facade is right, muttered Weapons Officer Sarah Nakamura from her station. At 31, she had earned her position through a combination of tactical brilliance and an almost supernatural ability to coax accuracy from the crawler's aging weapon systems. Half these species would love an excuse to vote us out of the Alliance. They see us as upstart primitives who got lucky during the invasion wars. Arya settled into the captain's chair, her hands finding the familiar contours of the armrests. Around her, the bridge crew continued their preparations with the smooth efficiency that came from years of working together. These people had followed her through 3 different commands, and their loyalty was absolute. It was that loyalty that made what she was about to do both possible and necessary. Jelani, take us to the starting position. Standard approach, nothing fancy. Aye, Captain. Jelani's hands moved across his controls, and the crawler began its stately progress toward the exercise area. Through the main view screen, they could see the other ships taking their positions. The Vexian destroyers moved with predatory grace, their hulls gleaming in the light of the nearby star. The Arcturus vessels hung in perfect geometric formations, while the Zephyrian ships pulsed with organic rhythms that seemed almost alive. As they approached the starting line, the communications officer activated the main display. Admiral Corvesh, a methane-breathing titan who served as the exercise coordinator, appeared on screen. His translated voice boomed through the bridge speakers. All vessels prepare for exercise velocity prime. The course consists of a series of navigation buoys placed throughout the Kepler debris field. Vessels will proceed from buoy Alpha through the complete circuit and return to the starting position. Time and precision will be evaluated. This is a competitive exercise. Begin on my mark. Arya glanced around the bridge. Her crew sat ready at their stations, professional and competent, despite the futility of the task ahead. The crawler's maximum speed was roughly half that of the slowest vessel in the exercise. They would be left behind before they cleared the first buoy. Mark. The response was immediate and spectacular. The Vexian destroyers leaped forward like released arrows, their engines painting space in brilliant blue fire. The Arcturus ships accelerated with mathematical precision, their formations maintaining perfect coherence even at tremendous speeds. The bioorganic vessels of the Zephyrian hive rippled forward with undulating grace. And the crawler began its steady, implacable advance at exactly the same speed it always traveled. All ahead full, Arya commanded, though she knew it would make little difference. Aye, Captain, all ahead full. Jelani's voice carried no disappointment, only professional acknowledgement. On the tactical display, the other ships were already approaching the first navigation buoy, while the crawler had barely cleared the starting line. General Zelar's destroyer, the Predator's Edge, was leading the pack with contemptuous ease. It was then that disaster struck. The debris field through which the course was laid contained the remnants of an ancient battle from the Succession Wars. Chunks of metal and crystalline composite drifted in complex patterns, creating a three-dimensional maze that required both speed and precision to navigate safely. The Vexian formation, confident in their superior maneuverability, had taken an aggressive approach to the first cluster of obstacles. Too aggressive. The lead destroyer, attempting to shave seconds off their time by cutting close to a particularly large piece of debris, misjudged the trajectory of a smaller fragment. The collision was minor by warship standards, but at the speeds involved, minor was relative. The impact sent the destroyer spinning into the path of its wingmen, and the resulting collision created a cascade of debris that spread across the course like a shotgun blast. Jelani, reacting with the lightning reflexes that had earned him his position, threw the crawler into a hard turn to port. The massive ship responded with agonizing slowness, its hull groaning under the stress of the maneuver. For a moment, it seemed they might clear the expanding debris field. Then, a piece of twisted metal, no larger than a desk, but moving at tremendous velocity, struck the crawler's port side. The impact rang through the ship like a massive bell, and Jelani was thrown from his station as the navigation console exploded in a shower of sparks. Medical team to the bridge. Arya's voice cut through the chaos as she knelt beside her injured navigator. Jelani was conscious, but bleeding from a deep gash across his forehead, where he had struck the edge of his console. Dr. Voss was already moving toward them, her medical scanner in hand. Concussion, possible skull fracture. He needs to get to sickbay immediately. As the medical team carried Jelani from the bridge, Arya felt the weight of every eye in the Alliance fleet upon her ship. The crawler sat dead in space, its navigation systems offline, while around them the other vessels had either completed the course or withdrawn to safe distances. On the tactical display, she could see General Zelar's ship approaching, no doubt, preparing to offer assistance that would only further humiliate Earth's representative. Captain, Rydell's voice was carefully neutral. I can have navigation back online in 20 minutes. The damage isn't as bad as it looks. Do it. Arya's voice was quiet, but there was something in her tone that made Nakamura look up from her weapons console. The captain was staring at the tactical display with an expression that her weapons officer had learned to recognize over the years. It was the look Arya got when she was planning something audacious. The rescue and repair operations that followed were conducted under the watchful eyes of the entire Alliance fleet. General Zelar's offer of assistance was politely, but firmly declined, and within an hour, the crawler was once again operational. The joint exercises continued for another 6 hours, but the human ship was relegated to observational duties, its humiliation complete. It was only later in the privacy of her quarters that Arya called the meeting that would change everything. The captain's quarters aboard the crawler were as Spartan as the rest of the ship. A single desk, a narrow bunk, and a small viewport that looked out into the star-filled void. It was here that Arya gathered her most trusted officers, Rydell, Dr. Voss, and Nakamura. Each of them had served with her for years, and each of them had proven their loyalty beyond question. "What I'm about to show you," Arya began without preamble, "is classified at the highest levels of Earth Command. What I'm about to propose may be considered treason by some, but I believe it's the only way to ensure our survival in this alliance." Rydell leaned back in his chair, his expression skeptical. "Captain, with all due respect, what could Earth Command possibly have that would justify that kind of secrecy? We're the technological underdogs in this alliance. Our best ships are barely competitive with their second-line vessels." "That's what they think." Arya moved to her desk and activated a hidden panel. From within, she withdrew a datapad that bore the seal of Earth's Special Technologies Division. "And that's what we've encouraged them to think. The crawler isn't just a slow, outdated warship. She's a testbed." Dr. Voss leaned forward, her scientific curiosity overriding her caution. "A testbed for what?" "The knowledge base." Arya activated the datapad, and holographic displays filled the air above her desk. Technical schematics, AI architecture diagrams, and tactical algorithms scrolled past in dizzying complexity. For the past 10 years, Earth's best minds have been working on a project that could revolutionize space warfare, not through speed or firepower, but through intelligence. Nakamura studied the displays with growing amazement. "This is an AI system. Not just any AI system. The knowledge base is designed to collect, analyze, and synthesize the combat experience of the entire human race. Every battle we've ever fought, every tactical innovation, every hard-learned lesson from 50 years of interstellar warfare. It's all there processed through quantum neural networks that can make strategic decisions faster than any organic mind." Rydell's expression had shifted from skepticism to awe. "You're talking about an artificial general intelligence with military applications. Captain, that's illegal under Alliance law. The AI Accords specifically prohibit the development of autonomous warfare systems." "Only if they're autonomous," Dr. Voss said quietly, her eyes fixed on the technical specifications. "But this system requires human authorization for all major decisions. It's an advisory system, not a replacement for human command." "Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant." Arya nodded. "The knowledge base can process tactical information and provide strategic recommendations in real time. It can coordinate defensive systems, optimize weapon targeting, and even pilot the ship if necessary. But it cannot act without direct authorization from the commanding officer." "And it's been installed on the crawler this whole time?" Nakamura asked. "The crawler is the prototype. We've been testing the system for 3 years, but always in simulation mode. The AI has been learning, observing, preparing. But we've never activated its full capabilities in a real combat situation." Rydell was studying the power requirements with an engineer's eye for detail. "The energy demands alone must be enormous. No wonder we're so slow. Half our reactor output is probably being diverted to run this thing." "Exactly. The crawler appears slow and clumsy because we're operating at reduced capacity. But if we activated the knowledge base, if we let it optimize our systems and coordinate our actions..." Arya paused, letting the implications sink in. "We could surprise a lot of people," Nakamura finished. "The question is whether we're willing to take that risk. If we reveal the knowledge base, Earth will face immediate expulsion from the Alliance. The other species already fear human unpredictability. An AI system that gives us tactical advantages would be seen as confirmation of their worst suspicions." Dr. Voss was still studying the technical specifications, her mind racing through the possibilities. "The ethical implications are staggering. This system would give humanity an unprecedented advantage in space warfare. But it also raises questions about the nature of combat itself. Are we prepared for the responsibility that comes with this kind of power?" More importantly, Rydell added, are we prepared for the consequences if other species develop similar systems? This could trigger an AI arms race that ends in complete automation of warfare. Arya stood and moved to the viewport, staring out at the distant lights of the Alliance fleet. Somewhere among those ships, General Zelar was probably composing his report on the day's exercises documenting Earth's humiliation for the Alliance command. The thought made her jaw tighten with determination. I've been thinking about that conversation with Zelar, she said, without turning around. His certainty that speed and precision are the only factors that matter in modern warfare. His dismissal of any strategy that doesn't fit his preconceptions. Arrogant bastard, Nakamura muttered. Maybe. But he's also representative of how the Alliance views Earth. We're tolerated because of our contribution during the invasion wars, but we're not respected. We're seen as primitives who got lucky. And as long as we continue to play by their rules, using their definitions of what makes a warship effective, we'll never be anything more than that. She turned back to face her officers. But what if we change the rules? What if we demonstrated that there are other ways to fight, other paths to victory? The knowledge base represents everything humanity has learned about warfare. Our creativity, our adaptability, our refusal to give up even when facing impossible odds. Maybe it's time to show the galaxy what that really means. The silence that followed was heavy with implications. Each officer was weighing the risks and benefits, considering the potential consequences of the choice before them. It was Rydell who finally spoke. I've spent my entire career maintaining ships that were barely adequate, fighting with equipment that was always one generation behind the competition. If there's a chance to level the playing field, to show these Alliance types what human engineering can really accomplish. He paused, then nodded firmly. I'm in. Dr. Voss took longer to consider her scientific training, warring with her moral convictions. The potential for abuse is enormous, but so is the potential for good. If we can demonstrate that AI-assisted warfare can be conducted ethically, with proper human oversight, it might prevent other species from developing more dangerous systems. We could set the precedent for responsible AI development. She looked up at Arya. I'll help you. Nakamura's answer was the simplest of all. You've never steered us wrong, Captain. If you think this is what needs to be done, then we do it. Arya felt a weight settle on her shoulders, the burden of command magnified by the magnitude of what they were contemplating. Then we're agreed. But understand, once we activate the knowledge base in combat mode, there's no going back. The galaxy will know what we're capable of, and everything changes after that. 3 days later, the joint exercises entered their final phase combat simulations in the Empty Valley, a region of space notorious for its unpredictable plasma storms and dense asteroid fields. It was here that the various Alliance fleets would demonstrate their combat capabilities against simulated enemy forces, their performance evaluated by a panel of neutral observers. The Crawler had been assigned to a reconnaissance role safely distant from the main combat area. It was a position that reflected the Alliance's assessment of human capabilities, useful for gathering information, but not trusted with anything requiring real skill or courage. Arya stood on the bridge watching the tactical displays as the various fleets maneuvered into position. The Vexian destroyers moved with their characteristic grace, their formations flowing like schools of predatory fish. The Arcturus Collective had arranged their vessels in geometric patterns that seemed to pulse with mathematical precision. Even the usually chaotic Zephyrian ships had organized themselves into something resembling order. Captain. Dr. Voss's voice was carefully neutral, but Arya could hear the underlying tension. I'm reading some unusual energy signatures from the other fleets. It's possible they're running more advanced systems than they've previously revealed. Interesting. Are we recording everything? Of course. The knowledge base is automatically cataloging all observed tactical behaviors and weapon signatures. The database is growing exponentially. Rydell looked up from his engineering station. Speaking of the knowledge base, Captain, all systems are ready for full activation. I've rerouted power from secondary systems to provide maximum processing capability. If you give the word, we can go from stealth mode to full combat integration in under 30 seconds. Arya nodded, but her attention was fixed on the tactical display, where General Zelar's command ship was positioning itself for the opening phase of the exercise. The Predator's Edge was a work of art, its hull designed for maximum speed and maneuverability. Watching it move through space was like watching a master swordsman preparing for a duel. Attention all vessels. Admiral Corvesh's translated voice boomed through the communication system. Exercise Thunderstrike will commence in 5 minutes. Primary objectives are the destruction of enemy installations and the neutralization of hostile fleet elements. Secondary objectives include the rescue of friendly personnel and the protection of civilian assets. All vessels are to proceed to their assigned positions. As the various fleets began their final approach to the combat zone, Arya noticed something that made her frown. The Vexian formation was moving with unusual aggression, their course taking them dangerously close to the crawler's reconnaissance position. Nakamura, are you seeing this? The weapons officer studied her displays with growing concern. Yes, Captain. General Zelar's group is deviating from their assigned approach vector. They're heading directly for our position. Communications hail the Predator's Edge. Channel open, Captain. General Zelar's image appeared on the main screen, his amber eyes glowing with what might have been amusement. Captain Vale, I trust you have a clear view of the proceedings from your safe position. General, your current course will bring you through our operational area. I recommend adjusting your approach to avoid any navigation conflicts. How thoughtful of you to be concerned for our navigation. However, I believe there may have been some confusion about the exercise parameters. Zelar's expression remained pleasant, but there was something predatory in his smile. You see, the scenario includes hostile reconnaissance elements that must be neutralized before the main assault can begin. Your ship fits that profile quite well. Arya felt her blood turn cold. General, the crawler is clearly marked as a friendly asset. We're observers, not combatants. Are you? How interesting. Because according to my tactical analysis, any vessel with the capability to observe our operations could also potentially transmit that information to enemy forces. In a real combat situation, such vessels would be considered legitimate targets. The implication was clear. Zelar was using the exercise as an excuse to humiliate Earth's representative, possibly even to damage the crawler, under the guise of simulated combat. The weapons used in these exercises were designed to overload shields and disable systems, rather than cause physical damage. But at close range, even simulated weapons could cause serious harm to an undefended vessel. Marcus, Arya said quietly, how long until they're in weapons range? At their current speed, 4 minutes, Captain. Dr. Voss, current status of the knowledge base. All systems nominal. The AI is tracking the approaching vessels and has already begun calculating optimal defensive strategies. It's recommending immediate evasive action. Arya stared at the tactical display, watching the red icons of Zelar's ships approaching like a pack of wolves, closing in on a lone deer. Around the bridge, her crew waited for orders, their faces reflecting the same mixture of anger and determination that she felt building in her chest. Captain, Nakamura said quietly, we don't have to take this. The crawler's defensive systems are rated for full combat operations. We can protect ourselves. And in the process, reveal capabilities that Earth Command wants to keep secret. Arya's voice was tense with the weight of decision. If we demonstrate the knowledge base in combat, there's no taking it back. The Alliance will know that we've been holding back, and they'll demand explanations we're not prepared to give. With respect, Captain Rydell's voice was grim. They're going to know something is different the moment Zelar starts shooting at us. The crawler's shields are designed to absorb a lot more punishment than they're expecting. And if he pushes this too far, if he actually damages the ship, then we defend ourselves. Arya's voice was quiet, but carried absolute conviction. Dr. Voss, activate the knowledge base. Full combat integration. Aye, Captain. Initiating knowledge base activation sequence. The change was immediate and dramatic. Throughout the ship, systems that had been running at reduced capacity suddenly surged to full power. The bridge lighting shifted to a cooler spectrum as computing resources were redirected to tactical processing. Most noticeably, the constant background hum of the ship's engines changed pitch as power flows were optimized for combat operations. Knowledge base online, Dr. Voss reported. AI integration complete. The system is requesting permission to begin tactical coordination. Granted, all departments report readiness. Engineering ready, Rydell called out. Reactor output at 100%, all systems optimal. Weapons ready, Nakamura announced. Targeting systems online, defensive arrays charged. Navigation ready, came the response from Jelani's replacement, a young ensign named Torres, who had been thrust into the position after the accident. Course correction algorithms active, evasive maneuvers plotted. On the main screen, General Zalar's image flickered and was replaced by a tactical overview of the approaching Vexian formation. The knowledge base's analysis appeared as overlays on the display, identifying weapon signatures, shield configurations, and probable attack patterns with mechanical precision. Incoming transmission from Admiral Corvesh, the communications officer announced. On screen, the methane-breathing Titan's translated voice carried a note of confusion. Captain Vale, I'm reading unusual energy signatures from your vessel. Are you experiencing technical difficulties? Arya chose her words carefully. No technical difficulties, Admiral. We're simply preparing to defend ourselves from what appears to be an imminent attack. Attack, Captain. This is a training exercise. All weapons are configured for simulation mode. Tell that to General Zalar, Admiral. His ships are approaching our position with clear, hostile intent. There was a pause as Admiral Corvesh presumably reviewed the tactical situation. When he spoke again, his tone had shifted to one of official concern. General Zalar, explain your current course and intentions. Zalar's voice came through the channel with smooth confidence. Admiral, as I explained to Captain Vale, our scenario includes the neutralization of hostile reconnaissance assets. The human vessel fits the profile of such an asset. The crawler is clearly designated as a friendly observer general. In a real combat situation, Admiral, such designations would be meaningless. Enemy forces would not hesitate to target reconnaissance vessels. I am simply ensuring that our exercise reflects realistic combat conditions. Admiral Corvesh's pause was longer this time. When he finally spoke, his words carried the weight of official authority. Very well, General, but I want to be clear. This engagement is to be conducted under strict exercise protocols. No vessel is to sustain damage beyond normal simulation parameters. Of course, Admiral. I have no intention of harming the human vessel. I simply wish to demonstrate proper tactical doctrine. The channel closed, leaving the bridge of the crawler in tense silence. On the tactical display, the Vexian ships were now less than 2 minutes from weapons range, their approach vectors clearly designed to prevent any escape. Captain, Dr. Voss's voice was tight with concentration. The knowledge base has completed its analysis of the Vexian formation. It's identified several tactical vulnerabilities and is recommending a specific defensive strategy. Show me. The main screen shifted to display a 3-dimensional tactical projection. The Vexian ships appeared as red wireframe models, their positions and vectors clearly marked. Overlaid on this was the knowledge base's analysis probability cones for weapon fire shield coverage patterns and predicted maneuvers based on observed Vexian tactical doctrine. The AI is recommending that we allow them to close to point-blank range, Dr. Voss explained. Their confidence in their speed advantage will lead them to adopt an aggressive attack formation that leaves them vulnerable to concentrated defensive fire. Nakamura studied the projection with professional interest. It's risky, Captain. If they get that close, even simulated weapons could overload our shields. But if we wait until they're committed to their attack run, we can hit them before they can maneuver away, Rydell added. The knowledge base is calculating firing solutions that would take out their entire formation in a single coordinated strike. Arya stared at the tactical projection, weighing the risks against the potential rewards. Everything depended on the knowledge base's calculations being correct. If the AI had misjudged Vexian tactics, the crawler would be helpless against superior numbers and firepower. 1 minute to weapons range, Torres announced from the navigation station. All stations prepare for combat. Dr. Voss transfer tactical control to the knowledge base, but maintain human authorization protocols. Nothing happens without my direct command. Aye, Captain, the AI is ready. On the main screen, the Vexian formation split into 3 groups, each approaching from a different vector. It was a classic pincer movement, designed to prevent their target from escaping while maximizing their own firepower. General Zelar's ship led the central group, its weapon systems already beginning to power up. 30 seconds to weapons range, Torres called out. Arya could feel her heart pounding as she watched the tactical display. Everything they had worked for, everything Earth had invested in the knowledge base project, came down to the next few minutes. If they failed, humanity's reputation in the Alliance would be damaged beyond repair. If they succeeded. Captain, Nakamura's voice was steady despite the tension. We're being targeted by all 3 groups. They're preparing to fire. Knowledge base analysis, Arya asked. Dr. Voss consulted her displays. The AI confirms Vexian attack pattern, matches predicted behavior with 97% accuracy. Recommended response is immediate defensive fire, coordinated with evasive maneuvers. 10 seconds to weapons range, Torres announced. Arya took a deep breath, her finger hovering over the command authorization key. Around her, the bridge crew waited with professional calm, trusting in her judgment and the systems they had spent years perfecting. 5 seconds. The Vexian ships opened fire simultaneously, their simulated plasma cannons sending brilliant streams of energy toward the crawler. To any observer, it would have appeared that the human ship was doomed, caught in a crossfire from which there could be no escape. Execute defensive pattern Alpha, Arya commanded, pressing the authorization key. The response was immediate and devastating. The knowledge base took control of the crawler's systems with mechanical precision, coordinating defensive and offensive actions in ways that no human crew could have managed. The ship's shields flared to life in overlapping layers that deflected the incoming fire, while her weapon systems responded with surgical accuracy. Energy beams lanced out from the crawler's weapon arrays, not in the broad, overwhelming salvos that most ships favored, but in precise, targeted strikes that found the gaps in Vexian shield coverage. The knowledge base had analyzed their formation down to the microsecond, predicting exactly where each ship would be when the return fire arrived. The result was spectacular. 2 of the Vexian destroyers found their shields overloaded by impossibly accurate fire, their systems cascading into failure as the simulated weapons did their work. The 3rd ship, attempting an evasive maneuver that the AI had predicted, flew directly into a swirling vortex of energy that the crawler's deflectors had created in the space around them. Within 30 seconds of the engagement beginning, General Zelar's entire attack formation had been neutralized. 3 of the Alliance's premier warships hung dead in space, their crews no doubt staring at their displays in shock and disbelief. The bridge of the crawler was silent, except for the quiet hum of systems returning to normal operational status. On the main screen, the tactical display showed the disabled Vexian ships, drifting helplessly, their weapons offline and their engines dark. Captain, Dr. Voss's voice was barely above a whisper. The knowledge base is requesting permission to continue the attack. It's detected additional hostile contacts throughout the exercise area. Arya looked around her bridge, seeing the mixture of awe and concern on her officers' faces. The knowledge base had performed exactly as designed, demonstrating tactical capabilities that far exceeded anything the Alliance had seen from human forces. But in doing so, it had also revealed the existence of technology that would fundamentally change the balance of power in the galaxy. Negative, Doctor. Disengage the knowledge base from tactical control. Return all systems to normal operational status. Aye, Captain. Knowledge base disengaging. As the AI systems powered down to standby mode, Admiral Corvesh's image appeared on the main screen. The Titan's translated voice carried a note of barely contained amazement. Captain Vale, I'm reading that all 3 Vexian attackers have been neutralized. How is that possible? Before Arya could respond, General Zelar's image joined the Admiral's on a split screen. The Vexian commander's expression was unreadable, his amber eyes fixed on Arya with what might have been respect. Admiral Captain Vale has just demonstrated that there is more to human tactical doctrine than any of us realized. My ships were outmaneuvered and outgunned by a vessel we had dismissed as obsolete. General, Admiral Corvesh's tone was carefully neutral. Your ships are equipped with the most advanced shield and weapon systems in the Alliance fleet. How could a single human vessel achieve such decisive results? It was a question that Arya had been dreading. The answer would require revealing the existence of the knowledge base, exposing Earth's greatest technological secret to the scrutiny of species that might view it as a threat to the balance of power in the galaxy. Admiral, she said carefully, human tactical doctrine emphasizes adaptability and unconventional thinking. We have developed systems and strategies that may not be immediately apparent to observers. Systems. Admiral Corvesh's attention was now focused entirely on the crawler. Captain, I'm detecting energy signatures from your vessel that don't match any known human technology. What exactly are you operating over there? The silence that followed was heavy with implications. Every species in the Alliance had representatives monitoring these exercises, and Arya knew that her next words would be analyzed and debated in councils across the galaxy. The secret that Earth had guarded for 3 years was about to be revealed. Admiral the Crawler is equipped with an advanced tactical analysis system that assists in combat decision-making. It's an artificial intelligence that processes battlefield information and provides strategic recommendations to the command crew. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Admiral Corvesh's translated voice rose in pitch, indicating extreme agitation. Captain, are you telling me that you've deployed an autonomous warfare system in violation of the AI Accords? No, Admiral. The system is not autonomous. It cannot act without direct authorization from human commanders. It's an advisory system designed to enhance human decision-making, rather than replace it. General Zelar spoke for the first time since the engagement ended, his voice carrying a note of grudging admiration. An AI tactical advisor. Ingenious. No wonder my ships were defeated so easily. We were fighting not just Captain Vale and her crew, but the accumulated knowledge and experience of the entire human species. This is a serious violation of Alliance protocols, Admiral Corvesh declared. All vessels are to maintain their current positions, while this matter is investigated. Captain Vale, you and your ship are confined to this area, pending a full review by the Alliance Council. As the communications channel closed, Arya felt the weight of what they had accomplished settling on her shoulders. The crawler had proven its worth in spectacular fashion, demonstrating capabilities that would force the entire galaxy to reassess their understanding of human potential. But in doing so, they had also painted a target on Earth's back that would attract the attention of every species in the Alliance. Well, Rydell said into the silence, that could have gone better. Nakamura laughed a sound that held more relief than humor. Could have gone worse too. At least we're still in one piece. Dr. Voss was studying her displays with the intensity of a scientist who had just witnessed something unprecedented. The knowledge base performed flawlessly. Every prediction, every tactical calculation, every strategic recommendation was perfect. We've just proven that AI-assisted warfare is not only possible, but potentially revolutionary. We've also just declared war on every military tradition in the galaxy, Arya replied. The other species built their reputations on speed firepower and conventional tactics. We've just demonstrated that intelligence and adaptability can trump all of those advantages. Over the next several hours, the crawler remained under guard, while Alliance investigators conducted interviews with the crew and examined the ship's systems. The knowledge base had been shut down on Arya's orders, its existence acknowledged, but its full capabilities carefully concealed behind layers of classification and technical jargon. The investigation was led by a joint committee representing the major Alliance species, each bringing their own concerns and biases to the proceedings. The Vexians, stung by their defeat, demanded access to the AI's source code and tactical databases. The Arcturus Collective wanted detailed specifications of the neural network architecture. Even the usually peaceful Zephyrians expressed concern about the implications of AI-assisted warfare. Through it all, Arya maintained that the knowledge base was nothing more than an advanced computer system designed to process tactical information and provide recommendations to human commanders. She emphasized the safeguards built into the system, the human authorization protocols, and the ethical guidelines that governed its use. But she could see in their faces that the other species understood the true implications of what they had witnessed. The slow, clumsy human warship that they had mocked and dismissed had just demonstrated tactical capabilities that surpassed their best vessels. If Earth could build one such ship, they could build others. If the knowledge base could coordinate the defense of a single vessel, it could potentially coordinate entire fleets. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted, and everyone knew it. 3 days after the incident, Admiral Corvesh delivered the Alliance Council's decision. The various fleet commanders gathered in the main conference room of the neutral station, their expressions ranging from curiosity to barely concealed hostility. After extensive deliberation, Admiral Corvesh announced, "The Alliance Council has reached a decision regarding the human tactical analysis system known as the Knowledge Base." Arya sat at the conference table, flanked by General Morrison and Earth's legal attaché. Across from them, General Zalar watched with those unreadable amber eyes, while representatives of the other major species maintained their diplomatic masks. The Council recognizes that the system as described by Captain Vale and her crew does not technically violate the letter of the AI Accords. The artificial intelligence in question is not autonomous and requires human authorization for all tactical decisions. However, the spirit of the Accords was clearly intended to prevent the militarization of artificial intelligence, and this system represents a significant escalation in AI warfare capabilities. Admiral Corvesh paused, allowing the implications to sink in before continuing. Therefore, the Council has decided to allow the continued existence of the knowledge-based system, but under strict conditions. All future development must be conducted under Alliance oversight. Any deployment of vessels equipped with this technology must be reported to Alliance Command. And Earth must provide full technical specifications to a joint research committee for evaluation and potential integration into Alliance defense protocols. Arya felt her heart sink. The conditions were tantamount to surrendering Earth's technological advantage to the very species that had spent years treating humanity as second-class members of the Alliance. But before she could respond, an unexpected voice spoke up. "With respect, Admiral," General Zalar said, his tone carrying a note of formal disagreement. "I believe the Council may be making an error in judgment." Every head in the conference room turned toward the Vexian commander. Admiral Corvesh's translated voice carried a note of surprise. "General, you wish to object to the Council's decision." "I do, Admiral. Captain Vale and her crew have demonstrated something that I believe the Alliance needs to understand. They have shown us that there are alternatives to our traditional approaches to warfare, alternatives that may be essential for our survival in an increasingly dangerous galaxy." Zalar stood his tall frame commanding attention from everyone in the room. "For decades we have based our military doctrine on the assumption that superior technology and overwhelming firepower would be sufficient to defend our worlds. But what happens when we face an enemy that cannot be defeated through conventional means? What happens when we encounter a threat that adapts faster than our weapons can destroy it? He gestured toward Arya, his expression thoughtful. Captain Vale's ship is slow, poorly armed by our standards, and built with what we consider obsolete technology. Yet it defeated 3 of our premier warships, without suffering so much as a scratch. It did so not through superior firepower or advanced shields, but through superior thinking. Through the application of intelligence, creativity, and tactical innovation. General, Admiral Corvesh interjected, "Are you suggesting that the Alliance should adopt this technology?" "I'm suggesting that the Alliance should recognize the value of diversity in military thinking. The humans have developed something unique, something that complements rather than replaces our existing capabilities. Instead of forcing them to surrender their advantage, we should be learning from it." A murmur of conversation rippled through the conference room as the representatives of various species discussed this unexpected development. General Zelar's support carried significant weight in Alliance military circles, and his endorsement of human tactical innovation was not something that could be easily dismissed. Furthermore, Zelar continued, "I believe that attempting to force the humans to share their technology would be both counterproductive and ethically questionable. The knowledge base represents the culmination of human military experience, the lessons learned from 50 years of interstellar warfare. It is in essence a reflection of their cultural approach to conflict resolution. To demand access to that knowledge would be tantamount to demanding access to their souls." Admiral Corvesh was silent for a long moment, consulting with advisors through channels that were inaudible to the other conference participants. When he finally spoke, his tone had shifted to one of careful consideration. "General Zelar raises important points. The Alliance has always been strongest when it embraced the diverse capabilities of its member species. Perhaps we have been too hasty in our desire to regulate this new technology." He turned his attention back to Arya. "Captain Vale, the Council is prepared to modify its decision. The knowledge-based system will be permitted to continue operation under the sole authority of Earth Command. However, Earth must agree to participate in joint exercises designed to help other Alliance species understand and adapt to AI-assisted tactical doctrine. Will you accept these terms?" Arya looked around the conference room, seeing the faces of beings who had spent the morning debating the fate of her ship and her crew. Some still showed hostility, others curiosity, but in General Zelar's amber eyes, she saw something she had not expected: respect. "On behalf of Earth Command, I accept the Alliance Council's revised terms," she said formally. As the conference broke up and the various representatives began filing out of the room, General Zelar approached Arya's table. Up close, his alien features seemed less predatory and more thoughtful. "Captain," he said quietly, "I owe you an apology. I underestimated both you and your vessel. In my arrogance, I assumed that speed and firepower were the only measures of military effectiveness. You have taught me that intelligence and adaptability are far more valuable." Arya stood to face him, noting that despite his height advantage, the Vexian general's posture was respectful rather than intimidating. "General, you gave us the opportunity to prove ourselves. In a strange way, I should be thanking you." "Perhaps. But I wonder if you understand the full implications of what you have accomplished. The knowledge base represents more than just a tactical advantage. It represents a new way of thinking about warfare, about the relationship between organic intelligence and artificial intelligence. You have opened a door that cannot be closed." "I know," Arya replied. "That's what makes it both exciting and terrifying." Zelar nodded slowly. "Indeed. I have a feeling that the next time our ships meet in exercises, the results will be very different. I look forward to that challenge." As the Vexian general walked away, Arya felt a strange mixture of relief and anticipation. The immediate crisis had passed, but she knew that the real test was yet to come. The galaxy had been forced to acknowledge that the slow, mocked human warship was more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Now, they would have to learn to live with that knowledge. 6 months later, the crawler floated in the same neutral space where the joint exercises had taken place, but everything had changed. Instead of being relegated to observation duties, the human warship now served as the command vessel for a new Alliance initiative, the Integrated Tactical Development Program. Arya stood on the bridge watching as ships from across the Alliance conducted training exercises designed to incorporate AI-assisted tactical doctrine into their own military strategies. The sight would have been unimaginable a year ago. Vexian destroyers working in coordination with human frigates, Arcturus vessels, sharing tactical data with Zephyrian bioships, all under the guidance of knowledge-base algorithms that had been carefully adapted for multi-species use. Captain, Dr. Voss reported from her station. The Vexian squadron is requesting permission to attempt the Titan's Gambit maneuver. General Zelar believes his ships can execute the pattern with 90% efficiency. Arya smiled. The Titan's Gambit was one of the most complex tactical maneuvers in the knowledge base's repertoire, requiring split-second timing and perfect coordination between multiple vessels. 6 months ago, no species in the Alliance would have attempted such a maneuver. Now, they were competing to see who could execute it most effectively. Permission granted. Remind them that the safety protocols are non-negotiable. Aye, Captain. As she watched the exercise unfold on the main screen, Arya reflected on how much had changed since that first humiliating encounter in the debris field. The crawler was no longer seen as a slow, obsolete relic. Instead, it had become a symbol of human ingenuity and a testament to the power of thinking differently about old problems. Engineering reports all systems nominal, Rydell called out from his station. The knowledge base is operating at peak efficiency, and we're successfully coordinating tactical data for 17 different vessels. Excellent, and our guests? Nakamura grinned from the weapons station. General Zelar's aide asked if he could observe our next planning session. I think he's genuinely curious about how we develop new tactical scenarios. It was a remarkable change from the arrogant dismissal they had faced just months ago. The victory in the Empty Valley had forced the Alliance to recognize that Earth brought unique capabilities to the galactic community. But more than that, it had demonstrated the value of diversity in military thinking. Captain Ensign Torres called from the navigation station, incoming message from Alliance Command. It's marked Priority 1. On screen, Admiral Corvesh's image appeared, but for the first time since Arya had known him, the Titan seemed excited, rather than merely dutiful. Captain Vale, I have news that I believe you'll find interesting. Long-range sensors have detected an anomalous energy signature approaching the outer rim of Alliance space. The readings don't match any known technology, and the object appears to be artificial in origin. Arya felt a chill run down her spine. Unknown alien contact. Possibly. More concerning is the object's behavior. It appears to be scanning Alliance worlds, systematically learning our defensive patterns and ship deployment strategies. We may be facing a reconnaissance probe from a previously unknown hostile species. The implications were staggering. The Alliance had been at peace for 50 years, their military exercises serving more as diplomatic theater than preparation for actual combat. But if they were facing a real threat, everything would change. Admiral, what are your orders? The Alliance Council has voted unanimously to activate the Integrated Defense Protocol. Your ship and the tactical analysis capabilities of the knowledge base are now officially designated as Priority Alpha assets. Captain Vale, we need you to coordinate our response to this potential threat. Arya looked around her bridge, seeing the same mixture of determination and apprehension on her crew's faces that she felt in her own heart. The knowledge base had been designed to help humanity survive in a dangerous galaxy. Now, it would be tested against a threat that none of them had anticipated. Admiral the Crawler and her crew are ready to serve. What do you need us to do? Prepare for war, Captain, and pray that everything you've taught us about tactical innovation will be enough to save the Alliance. As Admiral Corvesh's image faded from the screen, Arya turned to face her crew. Around the bridge, familiar faces looked back at her with the quiet confidence that came from shared hardship and mutual trust. They had proven themselves once against impossible odds. Now, They would have to do it again, but this time, the stakes were higher than personal reputation or political standing. This time, the survival of civilization itself might depend on the slow, mocked human warship that had become the most dangerous vessel in the galaxy. All stations prepare for emergency departure, Arya commanded. Dr. Voss, bring the knowledge base to full operational status. Rydell, I want maximum power to all systems. Nakamura, coordinate with the Alliance fleet commanders. We're going to war. As the crawler began its steady, implacable advance toward the outer rim, Arya reflected on the strange turns that fate could take. They had sought respect and found responsibility. They had proven their worth and discovered their destiny. The slow ship that everyone had mocked was about to become the shield that protected the galaxy. And in the depths of space, something alien and unknown waited to test everything they had learned about the true nature of power.